a great pleasure to have the consultant Aksa Alam with us from the platform of the Padho and Padhao. Let me introduce what the Padho and Padhao is. As you all know that this summer has taken a toll on us in the name of Corona. So everything went online, and there are we three ladies from Jeddah, and we tried to take an initiative. It was a brainchild. The Padho and Padhao was the brainchild of the Nighat Jamil, who started this program to encourage and empower the students to give back to the community. We want our young ones to be very self. Not only they want for everything for their self, but also for the community also. And the program was envisioned by Nighat Jamil, our founder, and where students are teaching students. The younger ones are taught by their senior students. And it's a voluntarily service which was supported by myself, Sana Junaid, and my very dear friend, Samira Mohsen. Initially, we started in June, and we have more than 130 students enrolled with us, and 25 teachers who are also the student as well. And we have been conducting bi-monthly sessions since June for the mothers and parents, and for students as well. And we did some charity work also. We had this wonderful stationery drive in which all the kids and children take part. And we have dispatched almost 3 shipments of that stationery to the Pakistan. And recent one has been gone to for the street children in Karachi. And this is it won't be possible without the support of the families we have here throughout the world, because we have students from Pakistan, from KSA, from Dubai, India, London, and America also. And inshallah, soon we are going to introduce our online magazine, which is going to be named as Explore. It will be the virtual magazine for the students. I think someone has a problem in listening. I think you can please check again. Okay, let me introduce whom we are going to have the session with. Aksa Alam, she's a consultant and a speech therapist at Dr. Ziauddin Hospital in Karachi. And she has done his BS in speech therapy from the Ziauddin College of Speech, Language Therapy and Hearing Sciences. And she is a mother of a beautiful daughter. So she is a mother and a working lady also. So inshallah, Aksa will take from me and start the program. Aksa, it's over to you.
Okay. Can you hear me? Assalamu alaikum.
Yeah, can you just speak louder?
Okay. Assalamu alaikum, everybody. I am Aksa Alam, and I am a consultant speech and language therapist. I am working at Dr. Ziauddin Hospital since the past 2 years, and I'm really glad to be on this platform to spread awareness about language development, the tips and tricks that you can use with your kids to help them develop language. Basically, this presentation, this webinar is not only for parents who have children who have atypically developing language, or their acquisition of milestones is atypical, but I want this lecture to be helpful and informative for parents whose children are just starting to talk, they're starting to learn new words, and they're starting to combine words together. And this pandemic has basically affected a lot of aspects of our lives. And before this pandemic, I did not know speech therapy was possible online. But now we're successfully treating patients through teletherapy. And the major part of teletherapy is basically parent training. So even today, I wish to give you all information that we mostly give parents when we're training them after the sessions. And I hope this is really helpful for you. So I'll start by sharing the presentation. Just let me know if it's visible to everybody. Is it visible to everyone? Okay, let's start. Okay, so now as a speech therapist, I get a lot of questions as to what my profession basically is, what I do as a speech and language therapist. So I've added a small part in this training session where I'll talk about my profession basically. So speech therapy is basically where we as therapists help others communicate. uh, Communication is basically a mode that we use to express ourselves, to transfer information to others. We use communication to tell others about our needs. If I'm hungry, I tell someone I need food. If I am thirsty, I tell someone, I communicate to the other person that I need food. Now, when this communication breaks down, when there is any problem with this communication, the child is not able to tell his parents or the caregivers that I need something right now. And when that happens, basically we see frustration building in children. हम behaviors देखते हैं, behaviors such as throwing things, such as spitting behaviors. These behaviors rise when there is a breakdown in communication. Now, communication disorders is basically an umbrella term. uh, Communication disorders ke under we have a few other types of disorders that we have divided in speech errors. Now, speech is basically whatever is coming out of your child's mouth, the sounds that your child is producing. I see kids from the age of 6 months to 1 year to 3 years, 4 years, and I also see older patients, the geriatric population. The older patients I see after a stroke or a traumatic brain injury, and they have lost their ability to speak. So I see the older patients where we're doing rehabilitation with them, and I see younger kids. Now, for example, a kid comes to me and he says, blah, 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 blah. And for him, he said the whole word, he said the whole sentence. But the sounds that he's using, they're either reversed, they're either absent, um, or they're distorted. So even if your child is saying the whole sentence, but you're not able to understand, that's where we say that the child might have speech errors. The child might not be able to say b properly. He might not be able to say p properly, or the other sounds. We say that is speech errors. Then we have language disorders. Language disorders are basically where whatever is coming out of your child's mouth, whether it is grammatically correct, whether the child is combining the two words appropriately, or it's still unintelligible. Now, here the child has difficulty in combining the words so that the other person is able to understand. That is language. Then I also see patients for issues such as stuttering. Stuttering is, for example, if your child repeats a certain sound, sorry or baba, that comes under stuttering. Your child might have difficulty in producing. He might know how to say ba, but he might have a block or a pause right after whenever he's trying to say this sentence. Then that comes under stuttering. And we have voice disorders are basically the muscles that help in the production of sound or voice are vocal folds, and when the vocal folds vibrate, our sound is produced. If they're too low, sorry, can you all please mute yourself?
Please mute your mics also, so there won't be any disturbance during the session. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. So voice disorders are basically your vocal folds not vibrating in the way they should. Vocal folds weak ho sakte hain. There may be a nodule in between the two vocal folds that's not allowing them to vibrate appropriately. That we say that results in a voice disorder. And then we also treat patients for swallowing related issues. If you have a child and he is not able to, he is spitting food, he is rolling food in his mouth, he is not swallowing the food properly, we deal with that as well. So this is basically what a speech therapist does. I hope this was easy to understand for you all. I tried using layman terms, but if anything was difficult to understand, I'll be happy to help later on. Okay, So now this is where I talk about milestones. We say that from birth to 5 years, this is the golden period where your child's ability to acquire language is at its fastest. Um, this we call the golden age, and the more language the child experiences, the more language he learns. So because we're talking about the younger children, I'll start by another thing I want to talk about is you comparing your child to the other children. Do not compare your child to the other kids around them, kids of your neighbor, kids of your other relatives. Do not compare your child to them, because every child is different. But after a lot of research, certain milestones have been decided that by this age, your child should be able to say this. Always refer to the milestones that are produced after research. Do not compare your child to other kids. And even if the kids are the same age, do not compare them. So by the age of 1, your child is able to understand simple commands. For example, if you say "ajao," "de do," "baith jao," he will understand those instructions. Your child will be able to recognize his name. So if you call Ali, he will be attentive. He'll be like, "Oh, mama's calling me." He might even look at you. And he will also be able to understand certain words that you have been using on the daily basis: shoes, bottle, it can be anything, bowl. He will understand those words that he has been hearing on a daily basis. By the end of from age 1 to 2, the child might also start to produce the first word. Now, what is the first word? First words are basically when your child starts to say a word for one particular thing. So, for example, if your child is saying mama for everything, dudu is also mama, pani is also mama is also mama, then that's not considered as a first word. First word is basically when your child knows, oh, dudu is only this milk bottle, or mama is only this person, and he uses mama only for mama. That's when we say that your child has started saying his first words. Now, from the age of 1 to 2, your child has a vocabulary of 50 words. They understand simple instructions. For example, you say, oh, put it in, or wear shoes. They will understand those instructions, and they have a vocabulary of 50 words. Then by the age of 3, they start to combine the words. So for example, my daughter is 14 months, and if I ask her to give me something, I say, Sarah, de do, and she doesn't want to give me back. She will say, de do, no, no. So she's already combining 2 words together. Then we have, by the age of 3, the child is able to use 3 to 4 word phrases. And as you go beyond, the complexity of expressive language increases. Your child is able to understand more words, understand more complex instructions, and so on. Okay, now let's talk about what a late talker is, and whether and what is language delay. So basically, late talker is a child who is 18 to 30 months of age, and his expressive language has not developed. He has not started saying his first words. He is not able to request for things. But his receptive language is what I understand. When I hear an instruction, am I able to comprehend that? That is receptive language. Expressive language is what I'm saying. So a child who is a late talker will have a difficulty in expressing himself, but his receptive language is fine. He plays with things. He has pretend play. Pretend play is when a child uses some object for another use. For example, your child picks up a carrot and says hello. So he already knows that this carrot is something I eat, and this is not a phone, but he's pretending. So late talkers have play skills. They have receptive skills. Their social skills are fine. But the problem is expressive language. Uh, On the other hand, if a child has language delay, we see difficulties in expression as well as comprehension. Child has difficulty in understanding, and he also has difficulty in expressing himself. Now, I see parents who bring their 1 year old and they say कि हमारा बच्चा कुछ भी नहीं बोल रहा है. And we assess whether there is any underlying issue. Hearing loss तो नहीं है, या कोई muscle related issue तो नहीं है. And if there's no such thing, then we send the child back, and we say, we give the parents tips and tricks to use at home to help their child develop language. And we say, come back when your child is 1.5 years. And then we're going to see if he really needs speech therapy. And I also see parents who bring their child in at the age of 5, um, and they say that uh, our child is not saying a single word. Now, they have never been to a speech therapist. And the problem is the people around them, people around the parents, they say, Aapka bacha bol lega. There's no need to go to the speech therapist. He's going to talk, boys talk later. You just wait and see. The wait and see policy might be really harmful for a kid who has missed that golden period. Now, from 0 to 5, as I've already mentioned, is the golden period where your child, it's easy for your child to acquire language. When your child misses that part, then it's a lot of effort from the kid, from the therapist, from the parents to help their child acquire language. So do not miss that golden period. If you feel like your child is showing delayed milestones, there's no harm in taking your child to a speech therapist. Secondly, if you suspect that your child is not acquiring the milestones according to age, get a hearing evaluation done. होता यह है कि अगर बच्चा साउंड सुन नहीं रहा, if he is not hearing the sounds properly, he is not going to say those sounds. If he is not hearing the word, he is only listening to you move your lips, and he's not hearing anything. You can't expect him to say those words. Right? So get your child's hearing assessment done. Okay. Now let's talk about how do you know if your child needs therapy. Um, First of all, as I've already mentioned, you can refer to the milestones that are prepared after lots of research. You see if your child is not acquiring these milestones, you can take your child to a speech therapist. Um, then there are speech sounds. If your child is not, just say, a lot of parents come to me and they say their child is not saying some sounds properly. Tutlane, Urdu mein we call it tutlana. If you feel like your child is not able to say those sounds, get him assessed. There can be muscle related issues. There can be a tongue tie. So if there's any underlying issue, that you will know, and the earlier you know, it's always better. Then you can also take your child to a speech therapist if you see that he's keeping his food in his mouth for a very long. He's just rolling and rolling and rolling, and then he spits it. Or he's not able to chew certain foods, or he is preferring certain consistencies and not having certain textures. You can still take your child to a speech therapist. Then you see social interaction. um, if someone comes to your place and you see that your child is acting as if he doesn't want to meet others, he runs away, he might close his ears, and he might start throwing a tantrum. Anything that you see seems a little different, then you can take your child to a speech therapist. Then if you already know that your child has some hearing related issues, if he has a hearing loss, then you should take your child as early as possible. Know how to help your child who has a hearing loss. There are a lot of things that a speech therapist can tell you to help your child who has a hearing loss. You need to exaggerate your words, you need to be louder for him, and there are other things that you can do that you will only learn once you take your child to a therapist. And if your child already has a diagnosis, there are some diagnoses that you get at birth. So for example, uh, parents who know that their child has Down syndrome, they mostly bring their child in as young as 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, and they bring their child in because they want to know how to help this child. They already know that he needs special care, so it's always better to take your child as early as possible. Then if you see that your child has difficulty in school and the teachers are saying he is not responding, he is not following instructions, you can take your child to a speech therapist. There might be certain cognitive issue that you might not know, but he is listening to the instruction, but he's not able, his brain is not able to sequence that instruction in a way that he understands, and then he performs whatever is being expected of him. So you can still take your child to a speech therapist. Okay. Now let's look at this. This is where I talk about giving your child the best environment for language development. This is where you give your child, look at these pictures and see what's common in these pictures. If anyone can unmute themselves and tell me, that will be great.
It's full language.
बच्चा क्या कर रहा है? खेल रहा है ब्लॉक से।
Playing with father, quality time.
Playing with his dad. अरे किस चीज से खेल?
Okay, I'll talk about it.
इंग्लिश में बताइए।
I'm not able to understand.
Quality time with parents, playing with things to develop the language.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay, when you look at these pictures, you see that all these parents are sitting on the ground with their child. They do not have their phones in their hands at all. You don't see any father holding his phone and scrolling through while his child plays. That's not happening. What you see is your child sitting on the floor and the parent also sitting on the floor. This floor sitting is the best environment a child can have to basically interact with the parent. Um, what happens is when your child is sitting on the floor and you're also sitting on the floor, they feel like they're more in control. They'll be like, oh, I can reach to all my toys. मेरे blocks भी मेरे हाथ में आ जाते हैं और ball भी मेरे हाथ में आ जाती है. And Baba is also sitting on the floor, so I can look at Baba directly and I can communicate. So when the parent is on the floor and the child is on the floor, they develop a different form of interaction. They have a different interaction. And that is what really helps your child develop language, or basically develop a relationship before you start the activities. Okay, another thing, when you're playing with your child, do not rush your child. ऐसे टर्म्स आप नहीं यूज करें कि जल्दी करो, जल्दी उठाओ, उसको अंदर डालो, बहुत देर कर रहे हो, इस तरह की चीजें don't use with your child. Give your child time to understand what you expect from him, and then wait and see, is your child saying the words, is he saying open? Maybe he needs some time. So give your child time before you rush. At least don't rush your child at all. And then you'll see your child, when he feels like he's in control and the time is in his control, he can say whenever he wants to. You can reward him. Like when your child opens a box and says open, and you can be like, oh, good job. You said open. Okay. And another thing you can do is follow your child's lead. You can wait and see what your child really wants to play with. Is the blocks? Is it the puzzle? Is it the rings? जिस चीज की तरफ आपका बच्चा जा रहा है, just sit over there. When your child sits down, you sit over there and you talk about it. Oh, ring goes in. Or you can say blocks on top, blocks on top. So follow your child's lead when you want them to really form a relationship with you and really feel in control. Children love when they're in control. Okay. Another thing that is important is understanding your child. Understanding your child in the sense कि आपको पता होना चाहिए कि बच्चे का attention span कितना है. If you're expecting your child to if you're expecting your child to do 10 activities and he only has an attention span for 2 activities, you won't see the result that you want to. You won't see your child performing like you want to. So keep your activities simple and keep your activities small, because children do not have an attention span that's like ours. Even we need breaks. So give your child breaks, and you sit down, he plays with the blocks, you see that his attention is wavering, then you try and give him a few more blocks, and then you let him go, and then you give him a break, and then you can sit again. So use breaks to really expand his attention span, and don't expect your child to sit through for 10 activities if because younger children don't have a lot of attention span. And also understand if your child has some sensory preferences. Some kids, they like water, they like sand, so use those things when you're teaching them something. So if you want to teach your child to do splash splash, you can use water. If you want to teach your child under, what you can do is you let your child experience it. We say that the more input you give your child, the better he understands. If you're teaching your child under, let's take an example, the preposition under. If you're teaching him niche, so what you can do is give him verbal input. You say the word, visually show him what under means, and let him experience that. What you can do is you can take his favorite toy. You can take his favorite toy and you can say, oh, let's put it under the table. And then what you can do is you can you yourself can sit under the table and you can say, oh, mama's under the table. And you sit under, and then you ask your child, you put your son under the table and you say, oh, Ali is under. So this way he gets a visual input, he gets a auditory input, or he also experiences what under is. And when you give, the more input you give, the better it is for the child. Okay. Now let's move to the strategies. Okay, these are the strategies that I talked about that we will do today for you to use them at home. You can be a parent of a 1-year-old, a 2-year-old, a 3-year-old, 5 years old, and beyond. But these things will really help you in developing your child's language. Okay. So the first thing is self-talk. Self-talk is basically when you talk about your actions. You can be a mother who's cooking in the kitchen, and you can give your child auditory input. You can be like, oh, mama's putting carrots in, mama is mixing. Talk about yourself. This is self-talk. Mama is sitting. You can be like, mama is eating. And talk about whatever action you're doing, so that the child looks at the action and he hears what is being done, and he combines these two together. Then there's parallel talk. Parallel talk is when you're talking about your child's action. So for example, your child can be playing with the blocks, and you say, oh, Ali put it on top, red on top. He might be putting blocks in. You can say Ali is putting in. So talk about whatever action your child is doing. Then you need to simplify your instructions. If you want your child to understand, you need to simplify. If you say, bring the black box, turn it over, lift the lid, your child will not understand that as easily as you would understand, oh, open the box. So simplify. For the younger kids, you need to simplify. And then you expect them to understand. Okay, now the fourth tip is using visuals. Visuals are very helpful for making your child understand things. Consider yourself in a foreign place. आप कहीं travel करने गए, and you really need to use the restroom, but you don't know the written script of that language. And there's a dozen rooms in a line, and you don't know which one the bathroom is. but there is a universal picture that is used on every restroom, and that's where you'll be like, oh, this is the one, right? So visuals are always helpful. And when you see the visual once with the written script, twice with the written script, thrice with this written script, maybe the fourth time you don't even need the picture. So use the same technique with your child. Show him pictures, say ball, ball. If you were teaching your child to start to say or tell you that he wants to go to the bathroom, maybe you can have a picture of a bathroom and you point to it. Oh, you want to go to the bathroom? Bathroom, let's go to the bathroom. And he sees the picture and he hears you say bathroom. And then maybe after 20 instances, he says bathroom himself. So always try and use visuals as much as you can. Okay. The next is repetition. The more auditory input you give your child, the more he understands. For example, if you're teaching your child to say ball, you can use the word ball as much as you can. You can put ball in the sink and say, oh, ball. You can throw it up in the air and you say, oh, ball up. And you can use it again and again and again. So the child hears the word as much as possible. The more he hears the word, the more there are chances that he will use it eventually. And even if he doesn't use it, he'll at least understand what the object is. The expressive language always develops after receptive language. The receptive language is mostly better than expressive language unless there is some underlying issue. What happens is, जब तक बच्चा समझेगा नहीं कि ये ball है, he will never call it ball. जब तक बच्चा समझेगा नहीं कि दे दो means give, and as soon as I say de do, mama gives me something, he will not say it expressively. He will not use the word. Then there is increasing opportunity. Increasing opportunity is basically when you want to teach your child something, and for example, you want to teach your child the word open. You give your child the opportunity to use the word open or kholo. How you do that? You take a jar of candies and you put it in front of him and you say, open. You stand next to the door and you hold the door. If your child is at one word level and you know he can say that word, what you do is you hold the door and say, oh, what do we say? We say, and you wait. And the child says, kholo. And then you open and you go outside, you're going to the car, you hold the car door and you say, what do we say? And the child says, kholo or open, and you open. So this is how you give your child as much of opportunity to use those words as possible. Then we have modeling and imitation. Modeling is basically when you do the behavior you want your child to do. Show your child the desired behavior. For example, if you want your child to say give, and what you do is you go and snatch the object from your child's hand, it's never going to be effective. If you want your child to say give, then you need to model give first. If your child is holding something, it can be a cup. If your child is holding a cup, you say give, and you might have to hold his hand and show what give means in the beginning, and then do it once and twice and thrice, and then maybe you say give and he puts it in your hand. So and the next time you say give, he'll do it himself. And if he wants something from you, he will remember, oh, when mama needs something, she says give and she does this. So maybe I need to do the same thing. And he will put his hand forward and say give. So this is what modeling is. Always try and show the child whatever you want him to do, or whatever word you want him to learn. First, use those words yourself. Okay. Now, if your child is at one word level, what you can do is you can add up words. If you're teaching a kholo, you can say, oh, door kholo, darwaza kholo. You can say jar kholo. Add words so he knows how to add, how to expand his sentence. If he's saying pani, he's only, when he's requesting for water, he's only saying wawa. What you can say is, oh, water, you want water? Give water, and repeat it again and again and again. Okay, I hope everybody is able to understand, and it's not very difficult for you all. If you have any questions, you can unmute yourself and ask in the end. Okay? Okay, the other strategy is out of reach, where you know that your child can say give, but he is not saying it. He doesn't have, you want to develop the communicative intent. Communicative intent ये है कि आपका बच्चा खुद चाहे कि मुझे बात करनी, आपका बच्चा खुद चाहे कि मुझे मामा को कुछ बोलना है. Children, when they get stuff in their hands without even having to move their lips, they don't want to talk. आप अपने बच्चे को अगर बगैर बोले हाथ में चीजें पकड़ाते रहेंगे, तो he will never be motivated to speak. If you want your child to be motivated to speak, you need to give him the opportunity. ठीक है? So out of reach is basically when you put a jar of candies. You put a jar of candies in on top of the shelf where your child can see it, but your child cannot reach to the jar. And he sees the jar and he says, he does this, and you say, oh, you want candy? Let's say de, or let's say give, and he says give. You immediately give one candy or one cookie to him. That becomes his reinforcer. That becomes a reward. And the child realizes that as soon as I say give, mama gives me something, and he'll form a connection. The other strategy is give two choices. Give two choices is, for example, you want him to say cookie. Now, what you can do is, आप उससे कहें, Ali, do you want banana or you want cookie? And you know he doesn't like banana a lot. Do you want banana or do you want cookie? And he says, he thinks about it and he says cookie, and you immediately give cookie, because he knows if he says banana or if he doesn't say anything, mama's probably going to give me the banana. So he'll be very quick in trying to say cookie. So give two choices, one that you know that your child really wants and the other not so much. Okay? And you can be silly and forgetful with your child. What you can do is, if you're teaching your child prepositions, you're teaching your child on top, you can put a glass on top and say, oh, where's the glass? It's on top. It's on mama's head. Or you can be forgetful. Forgetful in the sense that you know there are some nursery rhymes that your child really likes. You can sing the wrong lyrics and your child will be like, what are you singing, mama? That's not how it goes. And he might try to say the right words and you say, oh, yes, you are right. Or you can also be forgetful. For example, you show your child a banana and say, oh, yummy apple. That's a yummy apple. And your child will be like, what are you talking about, mama? And he'll be like, no, banana. And you say, yes, you're right. That's a banana. So be forgetful and silly with your kids to give them the opportunity to speak and express themselves. Okay, now the other strategy is one at a time. Now I talked about how you want your child to say cookie. If your child says give cookie and you hand him over the whole cookie, there is a very less chance that he's going to say cookie again. So what you need to do is break the cookie in small pieces and you give one piece at a time so that your child comes back to ask for the cookie again. So that's how you're increasing opportunities. Don't give the whole apple at once. Cut it into small pieces, and you want your child to say give. You give one piece and then wait and see if your child comes back again. And you say, oh, what do you want? You want apple? Say, and you wait. And he says give, and
Aksa, we can't hear you. There is some problem with our consultant. Just give her 2 minutes and she's reconnecting. By that time, you can just write your questions. If you don't want to ask live in the end of the session, inshallah, she will tell your queries here. And we will be sharing her contact details because she's taking online sessions also for the speech therapy. And if you want to reach her, then you can contact her through her mobile number or the email address. Just bear with us and give us 2 minutes for her to reconnect. Thank you.
मेरा बच्चा उसके खाने
there is a problem, but our expert is on call. So she's going to answer your questions here. कोई भी आप में से अभी कोई सवाल करना चाहता है तो वो प्लीज अपना अनम्यूट करके कर सकता है. And she's hearing and she will tell. ओके. मैं फिर जो हमारे पास चैट पे क्वेश्चंस हैं, अक्सर मैं आपको वो शेयर करती हूँ.
ठीक है, we can do this.
ओके. हमारे पास जो फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन है वो तो ये है कि एक है, उनका बेटा 3 साल का है. हर क्वेश्चन इज माय सन इज 3 years old and usually follows my commands, but he doesn't speak even a single word clearly. He speaks only blah blah. He says the whole sentence but in new language that we don't understand. Can you please suggest someone in she's asking for the suggestion for the therapist in Lahore, but can you help her?
Yes. The first thing you need to see is whether your child has some muscle-related issue. You can take your child to a speech therapist and get your child assessed. Why is he not able to say certain? Produce accurately. So that causes the child's speech to be unintelligible. Another thing is, what is he watching on television? Is he spending a lot of time on screen? This was the other part of my presentation, and I think I'll speak over here in response to this question. Be very aware of what your child is watching on TV, what he's watching on YouTube. I have seen kids who come in and they're speaking in a different language, and when you ask them what they're watching, they're probably watching Russian videos, they're watching Chinese videos, and then they start to copy the same language. So your child might be trying to imitate a different language. So be very careful of what your child is watching, and you need to sit with your child and see what he is watching on TV. You can use that to talk about whatever is happening. So for example, your child is watching a cartoon. What you do is you pause the cartoon and you start asking him questions about the cartoon, and once your child has answered, you can play. So use that screen time to basically make your child express. And other than that, you really need to take your child to a speech therapist, because once the child is physically assessed, then only the speech therapist will be able to identify.
Okay, thank you. There's one more question. Her daughter is 8-year-old, and after she joined the school, she has improved a lot. But one issue is still there, as she has to force her to finish homework or scold her, and her hands stopped working. She cannot even hold pencil and even write a single letter. So what could be? And she still have the stammering issue, but improving.
Okay, so basically she's saying that she has some, she is not able to hold the pencil.
Yeah, but like sometimes she has to force her to do the homework, and her daughter has some stammering issues as well.
Okay, so basically the part where she is not able to hold the pencil, or she has some difficulty in physical activity, that will be taken care of by an occupational therapist. So you need to find an occupational therapist near you, and go to
I'm sorry if I'm interrupting you. Actually, I wrote this question. Can you hear me? Doctor,
Yeah,
can you? Okay, sorry. No, she's mashallah extra active and very, very active, mashallah. Only if I force her to scold her, I don't know what happens. she stops, she starts crying and her hand starts shivering and she cannot hold the pencil and she cannot write a single letter. I don't know why. Stammering issue, she's improving, but still she stammers. Now during virtual learning classes, I've noticed it myself that whenever she wants to say something, sorry, yes, tell me.
Okay, just a second. I have.
Can you hear me, everyone?
Yes, we can see.
Sorry for the issue. We can continue the lecture from our slides again, and then I'll try and go over it very quickly, and then we'll go back to the questions. Is that fine?
Sure.
Yes? Okay. Let's do start again. Okay, so basically, I was talking about one at a time, and we were talking about how you can increase the opportunities your child gets to start saying a certain word. So for example, you want him to say give, you break down the cookie and you give one piece at a time. Okay, and then say it back is where you tell the child the correct way of saying something. For example, your child says he does like this and he says ah, that's all he says. You say oh, give. You say the correct thing back. You tell the child what you're expecting him to say. Okay, and then sing. Sing where a child is basically understanding things better when they're in a rhythm. Even as adults, if you hear a song and the lyrics stick to your head just because of a certain rhythm, so what you can do is you can use nursery rhymes and you can teach your child things through a rhyme. So for example, you want your child to you're eating with your child and he has an apple. What you can say is you can do eat an apple, eat an apple, eat an apple just now. So what that does is your child is hearing what you're saying, but it's in a rhythm. And that really helps the child to learn something because the rhythm is easy for them to remember. Okay, and then there's verbal routine. So, for example, every day you take your child for a bath. You take your child for a bath and you form a verbal routine. What you do is you use the same words every single day. So you can be like scrub, 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 and rinse, 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 and wash. So and then what you can do is when you use these words every day, even if you stop saying them and you're just doing the action, your child might be like, oh, scrub, 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 and you can clap for the child. So try and use the words in a routine. Use them every day. For example, we talked about kholo. So every time you're going outside, you hold the door and you say open, or you hold the door and you say, what do we say? We say open. So do this every day and make a verbal routine. That will really increase the you want to say. Okay, now this is the part where I talk about the things you should buy for your child. As a speech therapist, parents are who come in, they ask me कि मुझे अपने बच्चे के लिए क्या खरीदना चाहिए, किस तरह के टॉयज मुझे लेने चाहिए. So the first thing I want you to know is that your child does not care if you buy an expensive toy, if you buy an expensive car that has lots of music and has lots of light. Your child doesn't care about that. What you need for your child is something that develops interaction, that helps in interaction. So you can have simple things. You can not even have toys. You can just bring things from the kitchen and you can teach your child with that. My daughter loves onions and she loves potatoes. What she does is she goes to the kitchen and she picks up the onions from the basket and she throws them on the floor and then she runs away. So what I did was I brought her to the kitchen and I taught her in putting things inside, and I used something that she really enjoyed, and she enjoyed the whole experience. She loved putting all the onions in, and I said, oh, in, and she enjoyed every time I said in, and she did the action, and I clapped for her. So I chose something that she enjoyed and taught something that I wanted her to learn. I wanted her to learn to put her stuff back inside if she throws things around. um, Another thing you can really invest in are books. Books are very important for your child. You If you have kids who are 1 year old, you can basically buy things such as, just a second, can you see my screen? Can you see me? You can buy things, you can buy books like these are books that have a single picture on them. You can buy first word books. The one picture on one page really helps the child to focus. So he's looking at the frog, and you go like, oh, frog goes hop hop hop, and the frog goes ribbit ribbit ribbit. Talk about one object on one page and point to the objects. That develops joint attention. Joint attention is basically when your child is attending to the same thing that you are looking at. You're both focused on the same thing. So you need to point on the object, talk about that object, and then you turn the page, and then you talk about the next object. So for kids, it's always better to have less cramped things. If you have a book which has lots of pictures, um, and you point to the small duck and say, oh, duck, that will not be as effective as one picture on one page. So find first word books for your kids, and you can start reading books at any level. You can start reading books to your child as soon as they start sitting. As soon as they start sitting, you can start reading books to your child. And the other thing you can have is puzzles. So what you do is you keep all the puzzle pieces to yourself, and you show the child a horse, and you say, oh, this is a horse. The horse says neigh, and you give the child the horse if he is at a non-verbal stage. But if your child is at a verbal stage, what you will do is you'll show the horse, and you say, oh, this is a, and you wait till your child says horse, and then only you hand over the puzzle piece to your child. Then you show your child the duck, and you do the same thing, and this gives the child more opportunities. So buy things that give your child more opportunities to express themselves. Then we have bubbles. Kids love bubbles. You can take bubbles, put the stick near your mouth. If your child is on the non-verbal stage, he's not saying a word, you say it for him. Oh, mama's blowing bubbles, and then you blow the bubbles. And if your child is on the verbal stage, or is on a one word stage, what you can do is, mama is blowing, child says blowing, and then you blow the bubbles, and you can say, oh, that is a bubble, let's pop pop pop. So play with the child. And then the most important thing that your child can have is you and your attention. You sitting with your child with your complete attention, looking at your child, enjoying what your child is doing. Children enjoy when they have attention. um, I have parents who come in the clinic, and their child is learning new words, and they're trying to say new words, but the parent is busy on their phones. So what I do is I strictly tell parents that you cannot use your phone while you're in the clinic, because this is where your child needs appreciation. He could never say ba, but now he's saying ba, but mama's on the phone, and mama didn't watch her child say ba. So don't miss these things that you want him to do. Then you can have stacking rings, stacking cups. And if you don't have stacking cups, you don't have to go and buy. You can just go and get cups from your kitchen, and you can teach in. Let's put it in. Oh, let's take it out. And you can do prepositions. You can do under. You can do on top. You can do a trillion things with one simple thing. Okay, so this is where this is all you need to buy for your kid, or basically you don't even have to buy a lot. Just whenever you're going to buy things for your child, look for how you can use that to develop language, how you can use that particular toy to really engage with your child. Okay, so now I
Aksar,
want to,
do we have, sorry to interrupt, we have some questions. Can we take them first?
yes, we can take the questions.
Okay, the few are like, she's saying, what you have tell about this AA time. What is it? What do you mean by the AA time? Have you mentioned something like this?
One at a time.
One at a time. Okay, there is some
One
error
at
in
a
right.
time is basically when you increase, when you're trying to make your child say a word. So if you have one whole cookie, you break it up into pieces and you give the child one piece at a time. You give your child one little piece at a time and not the whole cookie, so that he comes back and says give again. So that's basically you trying to increase the opportunity for your child to speak. Okay.
Okay, and the other is, can you recommend some books for 3-year-old kids speaking one word need based and labeling? Can you recommend some books? Like some
Speaking what?
publisher or someone? Books for
Okay,
a
what I'll
3-year-old
do
kid.
is I'll share the books for 1 to 5 years on the group after the session, and I'll also send pictures if I can. Is
Yeah,
that
it
fine?
will be great. It will be great then. Okay,
Okay.
and there is one more question. Please guide me if child is verbal but at imitate stage. Used to of repeat what you say and can't understand replying of questions.
Okay, so the first thing we need to see is the child even comprehending what you're saying to the child? If the child is only imitating, that means there's a possibility that the child is not understanding. You need to check if your child understands. So show two pictures and say, oh, where's ball? Where's cat? See if your child is understanding things. Work on your child's understanding, comprehension, and then only we can expect your child to say the words himself spontaneously. When a child is not understanding that this is a ball and this is a cat, he's only going to copy you. Cat, ball, you can say a trillion words and he might copy you and he might say those words again and again, but he will never say them spontaneously if his comprehension is not there. So work on your child's comprehension. Okay. And it's
Okay,
also it will also be better if you take your child to a therapist, speech therapist, so she can make a proper plan for your child.
there's one more. My son imitate me whatever I force him to speak with reinforcer. Some words he doesn't speak clearly and he's 4 years. How he develop his speech?
Okay, so he is also imitating.
Yeah, sometimes I think what
Okay,
he like.
try and give him more opportunities to speak. So, like the thing I talked about, the door. You hold the door and you wait for your child to say. Increase the demand on him. If you know he can imitate, then he is able to say it. So instead of just opening the box for him or opening the jar of candies for him, wait and hold the jar till he says open or he says give. Don't just put the stuff into your child's hand because you know he can imitate. You know he can say it. So increase the demand of expecting him to say it back or say the word give or they or whatever.
Okay, we have one more question which came privately to us. It's like sometimes a kid like a बच्चा है जो कुछ words वो बोलता है, लेकिन at times ये होता है कि उसे पता है उसको वो word वहाँ use करना चाहिए, but he don't.
Okay, if the child knows give but he's not saying give, I would still give the same suggestion. Try and increase the demand. Don't place things in his hand. Put the jar high up. Don't let him reach it. जो strategy मैंने बताई थी, where you put the jar of candy somewhere he can see but he can't reach. Try and use that, because you know your child can say. Kids, their motivation to speak goes down in seconds if you place things in their hand yourself. Okay, so try and place demand, try and make them say by giving them more opportunities. You can, if you want him to say open, you can put all his favorite toys in a box and close it tightly and hold the box, and you say open, and then he says open, and then you open it. Don't expect your child to say something if you're not giving them the opportunity and you're not placing a certain level of demand. Okay, so I hope this
इसमें
helps you.
इस चीज में मूड फैक्टर भी काउंट हो सकता है? Is it something to
That
worry
is also
about?
true. A mood factor is, I would say, if the child is showing some behaviors, then there is an issue. Children are moody, and we all know it. So choose things that your child really likes. Okay, uh, don't expect him to open his book from school. He want to open the screen, open the book. He might not be interested in storybooks. Maybe he wants to play with the ball. Maybe he wants to, or maybe he just wants the iPad. You hold the iPad in your hand and you say open, and you know the child really wants the iPad. So you say open and show him the iPad, and when he says open, then only you open it for him. So choose things that your child really wants to do.
Okay, and there is one more. She says, my daughter is 2 years old and she just say dada, baba, mama, bhai, dedo and nana, but she understands everything what I say to her. So what do you suggest? Like she needs some help, or like she has to wait?
She is 2 years old?
She's 2 years old.
Okay, whatever strategies I talked about today, try most of those with your child, and also get your child assessed by a therapist. I don't think there is anything to worry about. Firstly, I haven't seen your child, I haven't assessed her, so I cannot be very sure, and that is why I'm asking you to go to a therapist. But children, and they develop language when you give them more opportunities. Try these tips and tricks that I've talked about today, and also take your child to a therapist to see if there are any underlying issues. But I don't think there is something to worry about in this situation.
Okay, and there's one more. How to differentiate between speaking disorder and being mute?
Okay, being mute is something that is caused because of certain reasons. A child might be mute because he has a hearing loss. He is not hearing a single word, and that is why he is mute. So if you think that your child is mute, get your child's hearing assessment done. If your child has a language related issue, then he won't have hearing issues. He might be mute because he's not hearing anything. And language issue is where your child um, has difficulty in acquiring language. And there's also another thing that's known as selective mutism, where children choose to be mute in certain situations, and in others they might be verbal. So that is something that is dealt with in a different way. But if your child, yes, you continue.
No,
Sorry?
just complete. Have you complete your thing?
Yes, I have. Yes, I have.
Okay. There's Maria Hasib. She wants to ask something. Maria, you can unmute your mic and ask whatever you want to ask. मारिया, आप अनम्यूट कर सकती हैं अपना? I think she can't unmute herself.
Okay.
Hello?
Yeah, जी मारिया.
मुझे कहना था, मेरी 2 साल की बेटी है, तो अब जो वर्ड्स कहते हैं उसे सिंगल वर्ड्स वो ऑलमोस्ट ट्राई करती है प्रॉपर बोलने के लिए, और कुछ वर्ड्स वो क्लियरली बोल भी लेती है, लेकिन वो प्रॉपर कोई सेंटेंस नहीं बना पाती. लाइक एक वर्ड बुक्स में से कुछ एप्पल, कोई लेटर्स कहो, कोई वर्ड्स कहो, तो शी इज ट्राइंग टू स्पीक.
Okay, perfect. If she's trying to speak, that is very good. If she's on one word level, you model the 2-word combination. If she's saying apple, you say, oh, red apple. And you show her what you want her to say. if you want her to, if she's saying go, you can take a car and say, oh car, go, and do something fun with her, so she will be motivated to say more than she's saying. um, if you have a book and it has a picture of a bird, you say, oh, she says bird, and you say, yes, bird, up, up, up. Add words to add the vocabulary for her. So you basically model what you want her to say. And
Okay, is
also try,
there any...
you also need to try these one at a time strategy, where you give her one piece of cookie, and then you wait and you show her to say cookie de do, or give cookie, and when she tries to copy you and say anything that looks like cookie, that sounds like cookie, you just give it to her. So you are rewarding her for trying to say more words than she's saying.
Okay, great. Is there need to show consult with therapist
I
regarding?
don't think you need to take your child to a therapist, because she herself is trying to say new words. She is trying to verbalize. So you just work with her and try and give her more opportunities to say more than she is saying.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, should we continue?
Yeah, I think there is one more. She's saying her child is 12-year-old, and when she speaks, she's not clear, and sometimes she forgets words.
Okay, her child is 12 years old.
Yes.
Okay, I would suggest that she takes her a daughter to a speech therapist, because we say that the golden age is 0 to 5 years, and when a child is beyond that age, as I mentioned before, there's
Can you
more.
please repeat again? We are not
Sorry?
able to hear you.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
No, I can't hear you.
Okay. For this 12-year-old, I would suggest you to take her to a speech therapist, get her assessed, and see what underlying issue is. Because this description of her just forgetting words is very less for me. I want more information to be able to diagnose her or to be able to form a plan. So I would say take her to a speech therapist.
Okay.
Okay. Should we continue with the session?
Yeah, but just if it's better if you just make it quick, because
Yes,
I have two more questions.
Okay, I'll end this session quickly. So one important thing that I really wanted to talk about is the screen time. Now look at this picture, and what do you see when you look at all these kids? They're all on their phone. There's no social interaction, no social cues being used. And these kids are basically together, yet they're alone. So when the screen time increases, expressive language decreases. And this is something that has been proved through research. If you increase 30 minutes of screen time for your child, you're increasing 49% of chance that he might have a language delay. So screen time is something you as parents need to control. And how to control screen time? The first thing is you sit with your child. Sit with your child and watch what he's watching, what language your child is watching in. Manage the play button. So what happens is your child is so immersed in the cartoon that they're not looking anywhere. What do is you pause the cartoon and you talk about it. You ask them, oh, what's happening in the cartoon? What's the bear doing? What's the bear wearing? Ask them things so they express. Um, because once the child is sitting in front of the screen, he does not care about his surroundings. He does not care about who is calling him. Even if they're hungry, they won't say they're hungry. They'll just be so immersed into the into whatever they're watching. So control the play button. Sit with them, talk about whatever they're watching, ask questions, increase opportunities for expression, where you can be like, oh, what do you think will happen next? If you have older children, you can just sit and ask them questions. What do you think will happen to this bear? and that's where they will start talking to you, and this is what you want. You choose the programs that your child is watching. Don't let them watch everything that comes on YouTube. Don't let them watch everything that's coming on TV. Control whatever they're watching. Time. Use a stopwatch and tell your child you have 30 minutes, and as soon as the bell rings, the TV will be off. Okay, this is something you need to teach your children, because uh, the things they're watching on television, they never end. You need to be the one to stop those programs. Okay, and then be very careful of what language your child is watching the programs in. I have seen kids who came to me in the clinic, and they were speaking in something that was so unintelligible, and later we found out that these kids were basically speaking Chinese, because ghar mein no one was talking to them. Everyone is busy. Mama is busy in the kitchen. No one was interacting. And the only interaction or the only input they got was in Chinese. So they started speaking in Chinese. So be the ones to interact with your child, and be the ones to see what language is your child hearing on a daily basis. And it's always better. The lesser the screen time, the better it is. So this is how you can manage what your child watches and what your child is listening to every day. Okay.
Okay, there is one more question. She says her son is 2.5 years old and talk few words. Follow the instructions, but hyperactive and fond of water, but less attention time. What should I do for the hyperactiveness?
Okay, you need
Excuse
to
me.
attention building activities. You need to attention building activities are things where a child has a basket in front of him, and you give them 5 blocks. Start with 5 blocks, and you put it in, put it in, put it in. You see your child is attentive, and as soon as you see that his attention is wavering, you give him a reward. Oh, good job! You did 4 blocks. Now let's try 6 blocks, and you put 6 blocks in. Or you can put pegs on a basket, and your child picks up the peg, puts it in, picks up the peg and puts it in. Anything that keeps the child attentive, and you gradually increase the duration of him sitting in one place. And how you will do that? First, you reinforce, you give him a reward after 5 blocks. Then you give him a reward after 10 blocks. And then you give him a reward as you see his attention is increasing. You give him a reward after 20 blocks. So the child will anticipate that reward, and he's going to sit through. This is how you can work on his attention. And while his attention increases, you can use these language activities that we talked about today to really build his expressive language, give him more opportunities, read books for him. If you think that he sits through when you have a book in front of him, you can do this. You can have you can have a book, and you can choose only first 3 pages. Turn the page, you say, oh, ball, bat. Turn the page, you say anything that's on the book, and then you turn. And after 3 pages, immediately you give him a reward, and then you increase. So basically, you're teaching him a language as well, and you're also working on his attention. Then you reward him after he's done 10 pages, and then 20 pages. So this is how you can work with your child. But making him attend to one object is something you need to work on before you start working on his language and expecting him to say something.
Thank you very much, Aksa. It's very nice. बहुत informative session था. I think बहुत सारे questions answer भी हुए हैं. And now we are a little bit running short of time. So yeah, the participants जितने भी हैं, आपके जो और questions हैं, आप WhatsApp group पे उसको भेज सकते हैं, और वहाँ पे फिर इंशाल्लाह अक्सा उन्हें आंसर कर देंगी. और हमारी इसकी जो लाइव जो सारा ये अभी प्रोग्राम था, ये इंशाल्लाह YouTube पे पढ़ो एंड पढ़ाओ की YouTube चैनल पे भी अपलोड होगा. तो आपको अगर कोई भी
अस्सलाम वालेकुम, can I ask a question?
Yeah, sure.
My son is 4.8 years old और वो बातें करता है, मतलब वो सब बोलता है, मगर कुछ वर्ड तुतला के तर रहा हूँ, आ रहा हूँ, कुछ वर्ड मुझे समझ नहीं आते. पोएम भी सारी सुनाता है, सब करता है, स्कूल भी जाता है, सब काम करता है, और कई वर्ड मुझे उसके समझ नहीं आते। बहुत दफा सुनने के बाद, बहुत गौर करने के बाद मुझे समझ आता है अच्छा ये बात बोल।
Okay.
वर्ड्स कुछ समझ नहीं आते।
What happens is कि बच्चे ने लर्न ही नहीं किया होता कि क कैसे बोलना है, ब कैसे बोलना है। तो they need therapy, and I would suggest you take your child to a speech therapist so
I
that
already took him to the therapist. मैंने 3 years की थेरेपीज ली है ज़ियाउद्दीन से,
ठीक
but
है।
after COVID started मैंने छोड़ दी लेना। मगर उस वक्त तक मतलब वो काफी हद तक अब वो माशाल्लाह पूरी पोएम मुझे सुनाने लगा है। मगर कई वर्ड्स ऐसे होते हैं ना जो मुझे समझ नहीं आते, जैसे कोई कुछ ऐसा बोल रहा हो जिसके 2 मीनिंग होंगे। बनाना पहले प्रॉपर नहीं बोलते, ना ही नाना बोलते थे, ना ही सेइंग बनाना। पूरी पोएम मुझे सुना रहा होता है, वर्बली सुना रहा होता है, मगर कहीं समझ नहीं आते।
When your child is saying sentences, मगर certain sounds are forced, या certain sounds are absent, या distorted, you need to work on one sound at a time. We work on ba and the child starts saying ba in the whole sentence. Baba is black, or black bear is bouncing. You don't expect your child to say the sound in the whole sentence. We need to work on one syllable. We work on ba first, then we work on boo first, and then we increase the syllables. We work on
ba, boo, bee, boo.
Yes.
Yes.
And then we work on monosyllabic words. छोटे अल्फाज पे काम करते हैं। तो बच्चा क्या होता है, अगर उसने सीख भी लिया है ब बोलना, तो जब वो थेरेपी लेके वापस आता है, he starts saying the distorted sound again. So it takes a lot of time and it takes a lot of effort at home as well to basically teach your child how to say the sound. उसको थोड़ा थोड़ा रिमाइंडर देना पड़ता है कि oh, what did we do in the session today? How did we say the sound? कुछ cues होते हैं, जैसे physical cues होते हैं, ब का cue ऐसे है ब. So you show, if your child is saying ka in place of ba, you say oh, you show him the action and he remembers अच्छा ba बोलना है. So children take a lot of time, and I would say that you continue therapy for him, because if he has been taking therapy since he was 3, then I think he needs to continue.
Continue, okay. मैं 1.9 में उसको फर्स्ट सेशन मैंने लिया था, 1.9 में.
Okay.
Okay. उसके बाद मतलब मैं सेशंस कंटिन्यू करती रही। कोविड फास्ट से जब पाकिस्तान में आया तो मैंने सेशंस देना बंद कर दिए।
Okay.
अब ये है कि वो अब मतलब वर्ड्स पोएम सुना रहे, मगर कर रहा हूँ, गा रहा हूँ, मतलब वो ऐसे वर्ड्स बोल रहा है, तो मुझे और सेशंस लेने चाहिए।
Yes, you need to take more sessions. अगर आप physically नहीं जा सकते तो take online sessions, because if your child does not have any behavior issues and you know your child will sit through, then give online sessions, take online sessions from any therapist.
नहीं, बिहेवियर कोई इशू नहीं है उसका, मतलब बिहेवियर नहीं है, वेल मैनर्ड रहता है, बहुत आराम से रहता है।
Try and continue online, because as soon as there is a break in therapy until the child is independently producing sounds, then the child forgets in seconds. बच्चे बहुत जल्दी भूलते हैं कि हमें ब कैसे बोलना था, हमने क्या सीखा था. So you need to keep reminding them. You need to learn the cues that the therapist is using ताकि आप वो घर पे use करें. So जैसे मैं आपको बताया कि ब इस तरह होता है. There are more cues for more sounds. You learn those cues and use them at home ताकि बच्चा भूले नहीं, उसको हर वक्त रोज एक रिमाइंडर मिल रहा हो.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Assalamu alaikum.
वालेकुम सलाम.
So my daughter is 2-year-old, but जो है वो दादा नाना और ये सब बोलती है, मतलब छोटे छोटे वर्ड्स, गिर गई को गिग गई, डक को गक,
ओके,
और ए फॉर एप्पल को औ बोलती है, और देखती भी है, मोबाइल बहुत देखती है.
ओके, द फर्स्ट थिंग इज स्क्रीन टाइम. उसका स्क्रीन टाइम आपको बहुत कम करना है. अगर आप इसको दिन में 20 मिनट दिखा रही हैं स्क्रीन, तो आपको उसके साथ बैठना है. और
वो खाना जो खाती है ना, मतलब वो देख के खाती है, उसके बगैर वो नहीं खा सकती. पहले तो वो ऐसे ही
अगर उसकी इस तरह आदत बन गई है कि वो सिर्फ देखकर ही खाना खाती है, तो सिर्फ टाइम उसके वक्त होना चाहिए जब वो खाना खा रही हो. आप उसका 20 मिनट्स को, आप उसके 30 मिनट्स को डिवाइड कर लें 15 मिनट्स में. 15 मिनट्स शी विल गेट स्क्रीन टाइम एट 15 मिनट्स शी विल गेट स्क्रीन टाइम एट डिनर. ठीक है।
वो
उसके अलावा
15 नहीं, वो 1 to मतलब 1.5 घंटा तो लगाती है एक
ओके,
चीज
यू
में।
नीड टू रिड्यूस द स्क्रीन टाइम। खाने पे 1.5 घंटा लगाती है?
जी, खाने में ही मतलब वैसे तो वो खाती नहीं है, लेकिन जो खाती है तो इतनी देर लगाती है।
ओके, आप इस तरह करें, आप एक टाइमर सेट कर लें and bring books, sit with your child and bring books that have interactive things. Peekaboo वाली books ले लें आप उसके लिए। उसको basically she is addicted to the screen because she is not getting the interaction from other place. तो अगर आप उसके लिए कोई ऐसी इंटरैक्टिव बुक्स लेंगे या आप उसके लिए कोई ऐसा टॉय हो, आपके पास कोई पजल हो, आप उसको उस चीज में इन्वॉल्व करें, ठीक है। 15 मिनट आप
मैं उसको टॉयज देती हूँ वैसे, लेकिन जब वो मोबाइल देखती है ना, तो अब तो उसको लगाना आ गया, तो वो खुद लगा लेती है।
यू नीड टू कंट्रोल दैट, यू नीड टू
मैं
बी द,
उस पे उसको
और आप उसको नहीं दें जब तक कि आप उस आपको 15 मिनट्स का टाइम।
जिद इतनी होती है आजकल के तो बच्चों को।
आई नो, इस चीज को स्ट्रिक्टली आपको करना पड़ेगा। शुरू में बच्चा बहुत रोएगा, पॉसिबिलिटी ये है कि वो 15 दिन रोती रहे जब भी आप स्क्रीन बंद करती हैं, बट यू नीड टू बी द पेरेंट है एंड यू नीड योर चाइल्ड टू नो दैट यू हैव टू लिसन टू मी, ठीक है। 15 मिनट के लिए उसको स्क्रीन टाइम मिलेगा, देन द फोन वैनिशेस, ठीक है। उसके सामने फोन नहीं आएगा, उसके सामने आईपैड नहीं आएगा।
ओके।
और अनदर जो
अस्सलाम वालेकुम अक्सा।
एक्सक्यूज मी,
वालेकुम
एक्सक्यूज
सलाम।
मी।
मुझे पूछना था कि हमारे फैमिली सिचुएशन के हिसाब से मुझे 3 लैंग्वेजेस सिखानी है अपनी 2 साल की बेटी को,
ठीक है,
तो उसको मैं कैसे स्टेप बाय स्टेप प्रोसीड करूं कि वो तीनों लैंग्वेजेस जो हैं वो कवर हों उसकी।
अच्छा। आप देखें, एक इसकी अभी स्कूल गोइंग है,
नहीं, ये शी इज 2 years old.
2 years old, so English she will learn when she goes to school, ठीक। The other 2 languages you can work on those 2 languages at home इस तरह कि आप दोनों लैंग्वेजेस में बात करें, ठीक है। एक चीज होती है where one parent uses one language and the other parent uses the other language, मगर अब नई रिसर्च ये आ रही है कि आप दोनों पेरेंट्स दोनों लैंग्वेजेस में बात करें। थोड़ा सा एक फेज आएगा जिसमें द चाइल्ड विल कंफ्यूज बिटवीन 2 लैंग्वेजेस, मगर बाद में if he has no other intellectual issues then he will learn both languages. और स्कूल में English is something that the child learns himself, so English is something you can leave for school.
तो हम दोनों लैंग्वेज साथ में बात कर सकते हैं इनके साथ अभी से, या मतलब एक लैंग्वेज अभी हमारी चल रही है तो हम दूसरी लैंग्वेज भी साथ में कंटिन्यू कर सकते हैं?
आप कर सकती हैं, दोनों लैंग्वेजेस में बात करें। यू कैन जैसे फॉर एग्जाम्पल इफ यू आर टीचिंग हिम, आप उसके सामने कुछ बोल रहे हैं तो यू कैन इमीडिएटली गिव अ ट्रांसलेशन एज वेल। जैसे यू से पुट इट इन, अंदर डालो, और यू कैन से come here, आ जाओ। So I'm talking about English and Urdu. You can give a translation right after, ताकि बच्चे को दोनों languages का input मिले. Increase the input for both languages if you want him to learn both languages. Or English, she will eventually learn when she goes to school.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, are all the questions done?
Yeah, all the questions are done, and really it's a great pleasure to have you. काफी questions आए, feedback आप सबका बहुत अच्छा था। अब हमने अक्सा चैट बॉक्स में अक्सा का ईमेल एड्रेस भी है और उनका फोन नंबर भी है, तो if you want online therapies with her you can contact her via both things. अक्सा कोई टाइमिंग्स आप क्या अगर मेंशन करना चाहें जिसमें ये आपको कांटेक्ट कर लें?
I think because I go to the clinic as well, so after 3 is the best time to contact me. On weekdays you can call me after 3 o'clock.
इंशाल्लाह। एंड अभी अक्सर जो बुक्स की अभी कई मदर्स ने कहा कि वो बुक्स दिखा दें, तो इंशाल्लाह आप वो बुक्स जो हैं अभी दिखा देंगी उसमें जो हमारा व्हाट्सएप ग्रुप है उस पे आप प्लीज वो बुक्स शेयर कर दीजिएगा।
Okay, I will share the books on the group, inshallah. I will try and find pictures of those books as well, ताकि थोड़ी सी examples भी मिल जाए, and I'll send them on the group.
Okay, thank you Aksa once again.
Excuse
It's
me?
like really great of you.
Aksa.
Yes, do we have someone?
Yes. ये हमें स्कूल कब डालना चाहिए, किस एज में, 3 ईयर और 4 ईयर?
3 years या 4 years? Acha. It depends on your child. Has he learned the prerequisites to going to a school? What happens is, एक बच्चा जब स्कूल जाता है, he needs to be able to comprehend instructions. He needs to have certain social level of social interaction, understanding cues, responding to adults, responding to other kids. If your child is not doing that at the age of 3, then you can teach those prerequisites first and then send your child to the school. वैसे sending your child at 3 is no issue. Sending your child at 4 is no issue. You can send your child to school even if he is 3 years old.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you
Hello.
very much. Yes.
Hello. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam. Ji Sumaya.
Is Dr. Aksa, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Actually, my son is now 3.5. In fact, he's 3.8. And he actually had speech delay. When he was 2, he couldn't say a word. 2.5, he just, once he said rice. And when he was 2.5. And till 3, he couldn't say many words. But now, Alhamdulillah, when I enrolled him to a Montessori, he started mingling with others and he started speaking. Alhamdulillah, he has started speaking all the words. He understands all the commands. He don't have issue of, not understanding or anything like that. Now that he started speaking, the problem I have noticed is that he's unable to join the words. He's unable to make the sentence that mama, I have to go, the big sentences, the joining sentences. He is saying he's able to make me understand what he's trying to ask, what he's trying to say. But the thing I've noticed, he's not able to make the whole sentence.
Okay. You need to do a lot of modeling for him. You need to step back a little. Agar your child is not able to say the whole sentence, let's work on phrases first. Let's teach him to combine 2 words first. Right? So if he's not able to say, "Mama, I'm hungry. I need food," you can step back a little and teach him to reinforce basically or reward him when he says, "I want food." Okay. So expect a little less from him, but model more for him. So, for example, you yourself need to say, "Oh, I'm hungry. I need food." But when your child, even if he says, "I want food," you reinforce that. Okay. And the more modeling you will do, the more you will find him trying to imitate what you're saying.
Okay, I have noticed that the way he speaks, actually, he watches on YouTube, he watches this cartoon Peppa Pig these days. He is liking it a lot. And I feel that the day he started watching this, he started speaking more. Maybe that's my mind or what. But I have noticed the way he speaks, he's saying in the same way as he sees them saying, the accent.
Yes, that happens a lot. That happens a lot. Now, what you need to do is, you know that your child loves this cartoon. You need to sit with him. Sit with him and ask him questions. He might be saying in the same tone. He might be saying it in the same rhythm. Let him say. But be the one to be interacting with your child. Okay? You sit with him and ask him, "Oh, what's going to happen next? What is Peppa Pig doing?" And because he's on the sentence level, he will try and answer it. And you can be silly with him, and you can call Peppa Pig a different name, and you can say, "Oh, what's Jerry doing?" And he'll be like, "No, Mama, this is not Jerry." So the tip that I told you about, where you act silly, you can do this with your child, and then he will correct you. That will give him more chance to express himself.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thanks a lot.
You're welcome.
तमाम पार्टिसिपेंट्स का ऑन द बिहाफ ऑफ पढ़ो पढ़ाओ आप सबका बहुत शुक्रिया कि आपने इतना इंटरेस्ट लिया हमारे सेशन में और होपफुली आपके बहुत सारी क्वेरीज आंसर भी हुई होंगी और इंशाल्लाह आप लोगों का अगर जो हमें फीडबैक इंशाल्लाह मिलेगा उस पर हम अक्सर के साथ दोबारा सेशन रख सकते हैं आप बता सकते हैं कि आप कौन से और टॉपिक्स पे हम मजीद हम आगे बात भी कर सकते हैं थैंक यू वंस अगेन थैंक यू अक्सा
You're welcome. It was a pleasure being on this platform. I hope this was very informative for everyone and I was able to answer your queries. If you still have queries, you can email me, you can send them to me on WhatsApp and I'll try to get back to all of you.
थैंक यू ना। अगर आप लोग चाहें तो आप लोग इसको सेशन को लीव कर सकते हैं।
Okay, let's end the meeting.
थैंक